Hello, class. My name is Cade Erickson. Good to meet you. I have just finished up my Genogram graph family tree, and so now I will present it to you guys. I hope you enjoy. We will first start off with my father's side, the Erickson side. Edward Erickson and Ruby Faye, that's my grandparents. Very traditional family. Father worked, grandma stayed home and took care of the family. No college. They didn't have any background college. They were that time frame. There was late depression. There wasn't a lot of education. It was just make money and try to live. My grandpa served in World War II. He worked on planes, which was a huge part of his life. It affected his life drastically. That's where he picked up alcohol, and that was never able to be rooted from his life. It was brought a lot of problems into their marriage for sure. Grandma, she loved Ruby. She loved to cook. This is kind of a little recipe book up here. But she was amazing. That was back in the day when people had to cook and they took pride in making food, and it usually took all day long. And so I remember going to my grandparents' house and eating. That was a big part of our family. You'll kind of see as it breaks down to my dad. My dad kind of took over the same kind of steps here. This is my dad and my daughter. He's teaching her some of his favorite recipes from grandma. Grandma, just to show generational passes, grandma cooked, my dad cooked, and I cook. I still cook some of the same recipes that my grandma has or had when she was alive, and we love them. So good. Part of the roles of my grandparents is grandpa was very disciplined, short temper. Alcohol probably played a big role of that, but you got spanked. My dad was spanked, and back then it was probably a little more than that for sure. That continued. My dad, if we were misbehaving, we got the belt. That's how most parents ruled back in the day. I tried that at a very early age of a father and found out that does not work anymore. So I have changed that. Part of, we got some France in us, some French in us of my grandfather's side. But with him serving the world, the war, we are true patriots for sure. One thing very common between my mom's side home and my father's and grandpa's side is they both have family have come across in the LDS Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints trek from Nauvoo to Utah. One thing that's deep in both sides of the family is religion, and the religion they have is the LDS religion. That is prominent in their grandparents. Later part of their lives, the grandparents, but that passed through all the way down to my parents and myself. This is one of my offices. This is a wall I have that kind of shows some of my memories. But if you can see up here, my wife and I served in a trek with our ward that is a reenactment of trek that we participated in, which kind of helped us connect with our roots, which is awesome. Problems with my family, emotional sicknesses. Of course, my grandpa had alcoholism. He actually passed away. His two siblings were Mike, my dad, and Ed and Brett. Brett had HIV. He had a very rough life, and he passed away. Ed died of a heart disease. So that's that portion. Emotional triangles. That's passed down here from, one more thing I wanted to show is back then my father hunted a lot. That was kind of their role. They went hunting. That was part of their the deal. My dad hunts. Grandpa hunts. This is a picture of my grandpa back, I don't know, 40 years ago with my dad, my grandpa, me, and my brothers. So pretty important to us. My dad hunts, and I hunt. So those have passed through our genealogy for sure. Okay, so let's jump into the Hone side. My mom's side, very different. Was not a traditional family. Both her parents worked. Her father, my grandfather Earl, he went to BYU, got his degree, and was a professor. And Ametta, his wife, she worked at the hospital. My mom had two siblings, very different. Unlike Ruby, who was home all the time cooking. Meta was never home. She was always working. It left my mom to lots of free time, and it affected her relationship. She felt like she missed a lot of opportunity with her mom, which she spent her whole life making up for with us as kids and her siblings. Not many diseases or anything like that. But my grandpa did play football. My dad played football. I played football. my kids played football. So that definitely passed through. Marriage was a little rocky on both sides, especially with alcoholism over here. My grandpa Erickson. But it was rocky over here because they both worked. Money was a big deal for them. They had a hard time finding that. A lot of roles were grandfather was the disciplinary, and the mom was the nurturer, the lover. So many times you'd get punished by your grandfather and then run to your mother, which I think is very similar with my parents. It's passed down the exact same way to my parents. So let's jump to my parents. My mom had a degree. My dad had a degree. The same type of thing. My dad kind of ruled the nest. My mom was always looking for love through serving and allowing us to do what we want. Made it very tough. Made a very tough relationship when both parents aren't on the same base. Very, very tough for sure. Some emotional triangles. So with my father, Michael, when he had his first kid, which I have a picture of it, Shaman, it was tough for him. It was a constant battle. My mom being loving, and she wanted to be the mom that her mom wasn't. So she spent extra time with her kids to try to give them the things that they didn't have, which left my dad kind of hanging, right? Emotional triangle is one person is less giving or receiving and to somebody else. And so that was a really tough deal for my dad, working into his early family. Another kind of funny emotional circle is my mom. With us being gone, she's about 70. Well, she's 76. So I bought her a dog. His name's Willie. I add him to the pedigree or our chart. But he has taken a lot of emotions from my mom that my dad used to have for my mom. So that's definitely an emotional triangle. It's back and forth. One other thing I want to talk to you about with passing of diseases is both my grandparents had dementia to Alzheimer's, which was really scary. They both had it. And my mom is now getting it a little bit for sure. So that has been passed down. So roles again, my dad, very disciplined. Took a lot of authority. And then we come down to my brothers and sisters. I had 6 kids in my family. I was the middle kid. That's me and my wife here. This is my 5 siblings. We love to party. We work hard and party. We love to surf. We love Lake Powell. We love mountain biking. We do all those things for sure. In my family, we have been blessed. It was not a social role for my wife to stay home. That was something when we first got married. That was an important decision to us. Was I was hopefully able to work and be able to cover both sides, and that has been a blessing for us. My wife has never worked. Well, she worked, but once we had our first kid, she stopped. So she's been able to stay home with our kids and raise them, which is probably the hardest job ever. And that was by choice. That was not by passing down the way that our families did it. It was by choice. That's a huge blessing for us. I have worked with discipline very different ways. You can't be physical anymore, and you probably shouldn't. But that has been a learning curve. My wife has her degree. As you guys can see, I'm working on my degree. It's not needed. I'm not leaving my business. I'm just learning to be better. One thing I notice with society, right, social culture context, is families tend to create what social needs need. I'm sure you guys noticed, but families have been doing more vacationings. Back these days, my grandpa, they didn't have the money or resources to do what we do today, but they hunted, they went camping. My mom did not have that. My dad has passed that down. We have done that quite a bit. We do a lot of stuff. Stacy's, my wife's, which is not on my pedigree, he was a white water guide. We continue to do that with our family once a year at Jackson Hole. We love Lake Powell. We do that quite a bit with our family to continue to create that connection. With our roles, that is very similar to my parents. Is like I said, I'm more of a disciplinary. My wife, we tried to get on the same base. I believe we both have to be on the same base to do it the right way. Well, I hope I've answered all your questions. That is my presentation. Thank you.